get more on the status of this inmate, Mona Kandil joins us from occupied Ramallah. She's our correspondent there. We also have Walid Daqqa, journalist and activist, who joins us from Vancouver. All right, Mona, first over to you. Tell us the status of this 39-year-old at this point, Daqqa, and how his health is holding up.
Palestinian prisoner Walid Daqqa, an activist and a writer, was arrested by the Israelis in 1986. He was accused by the Israeli authorities for being a member of a cell that killed an Israeli soldier in 1984. However, his sentence supposed to end this year in March 2023. However, 2 years ago, the Israelis gave him a 2 years extra sentence for his role in smuggling, let's say, mobile phones to inside the Israeli jails. Last year, it was found that Walid Daqqa was diagnosed with an advanced bone marrow cancer back in December 2022, and today he is in serious condition. This last month, he was transferred to Israeli military clinic, and he is in need for an urgent surgeries and urgent medical treatment, and he's really suffering, according to his lawyers, to the doctors, and even to his family and the supporters of Walid Daqqa. Days later, he was returned back to the Ramli prison, and it's very well known that he's not getting any of the medical treatment, that he's in really in a serious need. The Palestinian, let's say, pro-prisoners institutions are urging the international community to force the Israeli prison authorities and the Israeli courts, because they refused his early release for the serious condition of his health. They are refusing to release him. However, the Palestinian institutions are accusing the Israeli prison authorities for keeping Daqqa behind bars. It's an attempt for them to, let's say, lead him to death, as what happened with the numerous Palestinian prisoners before him. The family today and Palestinians in general, the prisoners' institutions, are urging the world, not only human rights organizations, to interfere and force the Israeli authorities to release Daqqa. Otherwise, they would be expecting his death anytime.
All right, well, Walid Daqqa, when we take a look at, first of all, I have to say I made a mistake. I said he's 39 years old. 39 years is the jail term that he is serving. He's around 61 years old. So Walid Daqqa, when you take a look at the way that Israel actually goes around, first of all, illegally detaining what's called illegal detainment of these Palestinians, which is illegal based on international norms and law. It then goes and wants to use. I'm asking you. It appears the regime wants to use these Palestinian prisoners to serve as an example to extend not only the torture of the prisoner itself, but also to try to torture whoever is related to the prisoner, and then to send a message to others as to if you're going to defy Israeli law. Is that the way Israeli regime treats prisoners?
Absolutely, and this is a form of a collective punishment to the prisoners and to their families as well. This is a policy that Israel have adopted since its creation. Israel have imprisoned over 1 million Palestinians since 1948 until today. And if you look at the numbers of Palestinians, and 1 million have experienced imprisonment in one form or another, it will tell you that every Palestinian family have actually experienced that. And that is because Israel used imprisonment in a very wide policy. And also, when it comes to medical neglection, it's a form of executions. And we know that Israel claims that it does not execute Palestinian prisoners, it does not kill them, but in reality, it does. We have, as your reporter mentioned, numerous names of Palestinian leaders and cadres and revolutionaries who were neglected, their medical needs were neglected, and on the basis of pushing them to death. Nasser Abu Hamid, one of Palestinian leaders in the West Bank, just last year, they refused to release him until he died, and this is most probably the case with Walid Daqqa, who is a prominent Palestinian novelist and writer, and that's why it's important to understand that Palestinian prisoners who are being attacked by the Israeli prison authority or Israel in general are Palestinian leaders of labor movement, writers, poets, student movement leader, women movement leaders, and so they don't want him out. Yesterday, I had the honor of being in a forum with his partner, his wife Sana Daqqa, who explained to us that Israel wants to keep him indefinitely and on the basis of killing him.
All right, Mona, taking a look at other prisoners also, are we looking at many prisoners who are suffering because of their health? And what type of, are they getting any type of access to their lawyers? Because we know that one of the things they don't have access to is when they get this illegal detainment without charge. They're not allowed access to a lawyer, unless they are. How does that stand when it comes to not only Daqqa, but other prisoners and also the ones that are suffering health-wise?
Today, 750 Palestinian prisoners are incarcerated in Israeli jails, and they are under serious deteriorating health condition, and they are in need for not only painkillers and relievers. They need medication. They need non-stop visits to the doctors and to the hospitals. In addition to those ill prisoners, we are speaking about hundreds of Palestinian prisoners, as you had mentioned. Those are held under administrative detention without charge or trial. They are kept behind bars as an administrative detainees, and of course they are not allowed to see lawyers. The Israelis keep them behind bars under the so-called secret information they cannot unveil to either them and to neither them or the lawyers themselves. Unfortunately, Palestinian prisoners under the administrative detention has had to start open-ended hunger strikes as a let's say one of the options that they have, or the moves that they adopt in order to express their rejection of their detention and to send a message to the world that they are illegally arrested by the Israelis, and that the Israeli authorities have to either prosecute them or release them. There was Sheikh Khadr Adnan, who unfortunately, let's say, was killed and was martyred behind bars after his lengthy hunger strike. So the Israelis unfortunately do not deal with the hunger strikes and the issue of releasing Palestinian prisoners who started the hunger strike unless they are literally at verge of death. The issue of Palestinian prisoners who are suffering a lot. There was the prisoner Nasser Abu Hamid, who was martyred behind bars back in December 2022, and he was also suffering from cancer, but the Israelis refused to release him and kept him until he died inside the Israeli jails.
Okay, in less than a minute, Khalid Barkat, from all looks of it, however way you look at the way that Israel mistreats Palestinians and violates their rights in every shape or form, there is no reprieve anywhere that you see it, whether it's through the freedom of movement or all the core issues. Doesn't that work against Israel when it comes to Palestinians, seeing what is happening to them and then them holding grievances against the regime and wanting to then have themselves not lay down and be taken advantage of, but rather stand up and then work against Israel's national security. So in a sense, doesn't that work against Israel? Or is that a part of a systematic way of Israel provoking them so that later on they can maybe capture them or incarcerate them, since they're going to act against the system that Israel has there?
Israel oppression of Palestinian prisoners, particularly an oppression of Palestinians in general, only exposes the nature of the Zionist regime. This is a regime that will practice and have been practicing all forms of oppression against Palestinians, from massacres to imprisonment to siege to wars to all forms of aggression. And this is definitely only exposes the nature of this regime that has no future in Palestine. Israel, as a Zionist, racist, colonialist regime, will fall in Palestine. And we see that Palestinian prisoners for the past 75 years have been fighting this oppression. Now, the question that I want to just leave is that if Walid Daqqa was a Jewish person, would he be treated this way?
Okay, indeed. Thank you so much for that. Walid Daqqa, journalist and activist. Mona Kandil, thank you so much. Correspondent there from occupied Ramallah. With that, we come to an end for this edition of the News Review.